Hey, what's going on, Fiend? Your old buddy John here. So, James Gunn, Warner Discovery, and DC Comics have a roadmap in place. They have a plan, if you will, going forward for the DC universe. And chapter one of that is going to be called Gods and Monsters. And then from there, they're talking about Creature Commandos, which is an old title. That's a reaching way back. Lanterns, even a rumored Swamp Thing, either a continuation of that show or it's going to be something new and fresh. Superman, Supergirl, Robert Pattinson's The Batman 2 has a tentative release date going forward, but I have the article from IGN.com, so we will read that, and then I also have the video where James Gunn himself pretty much lays out what's going to be going on in the world of DC. So, let me pull the article up real quick. So, IGN.com, Gods and Monsters, Chapter 1 of the new DCU gets name and roadmap, details on Superman and Supergirl movies, and a whole lot more. Well, it's finally here. DC Studios co-CEOs James Gunn and Peter Safran have officially announced their current plan for the first part of their revamped DCU, which they're calling Chapter 1 Gods and Monsters. The two revealed the plan to press at an event in Burbank, California yesterday, just barely living up to their previous promise to share some details in January 2023. Among the flashiest new entries to the lineup is Superman Legacy, which Gunn is writing, although he hasn't decided yet whether or not he will direct. It's currently slated for July 11, 2025, and will show Clark Kent balancing his Kryptonian heritage with his human upbringing rather than serve as an origin story. Kind of sounds like some Smallville vibes with that. They also announced Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow, a film adaptation of Tom King's comics, which was a great comic book. If you haven't read it, I totally recommend it. The DCU's Batman, meanwhile, will be introduced in Brave and the Bold, which will follow Damian Wayne, the son of Bruce Wayne and Talia al Ghul. They describe it as a father-son story. So it's kind of like the Grant Morrison. Okay. I answered my own question right there, based on the Grant Morrison comics run, which will include other members of the Bat family. That doesn't mean that Matt Reeves is being left to the wayside. On the contrary, the plan is still to have Reeves see the trilogy through, announcing on October 3rd, 2025 release date of Batman 2. The Brave and the Bold will not open at the same time as Reeves' Batman movies hit theaters. A Swamp Thing movie. Investigating his dark origins is in the works as well. In addition to The Authority, which will weave in several characters from DC's Wildstorm imprint, Gunn has worked on an outline for The Authority himself. The Flash will be DCU's big reset. As to how the current DC projects weave into Gunn and Safran's new plans as executives, they say The Flash, which is scheduled to release on June 16, 2023, despite controversy surrounding its star Ezra Miller, will serve as a big reset. I think that we've gotten lucky with the next 4 movies, frankly, because we have Shazam, which leads into Flash, which resets everything, which then goes into Blue Beetle. That sounds awesome. Which is totally disconnected, Gunn said. He could totally be part of the DCU that goes into Aquaman, which leads into Superman, our first big project. But the one thing that we can promise is that everything from Superman forward, or actually you'll see in a second from our first project forward, will be canon and will be connected. We are using some actors from the past. We're not using other actors from the past, but everything from that moment forward will be connected and consistent. Safran went on to clarify further, adding the DCU is a multiverse. Yeah, it sure is. It's the only comic imprint I've ever seen that's reset so many times it ain't even funny. But we are going to be focusing on one universe from that multiverse, and if something isn't DCU, we're going to make that very clear. So strictly adult fare, like Todd Phillips' Joker, or kid animation like Teen Titans Go, we're going to make it very clear that those are DC Elseworlds. They're going to bring DC Elseworlds back? Oh, that sounds pretty epic. Just the same way they'd be doing it in the comic books. I wish they'd bring the Elseworld title back to the comics. The plan is to release 2 movies and 2 HBO Max series per year. As far as the new film projects go, they are in talks with 3 directors out of the 5 movies announced. All in all, they currently have an 8-10-year plan. With 2 chapters being worked out, all actors involved will sign roughly 10-year deals for movies and TV appearances. Oh, so they're kind of going the way of Marvel on this. So there you have it. We're going to watch the video here in a minute of James Gunn's presentation from the man himself. But just want to give my initial reactions to it all. I like all of it, but the Flash movie, I get it. I totally get it. They had the movie done. It was ready to go. It was in the editing room. They had maybe some ADR or some reshoots to do, some other stuff while Ezra Miller went batshit crazy. But I don't want to see the movie just from the simple fact that he's in it. This is not a good human being. Very troubled human being. I hope he gets help. I hope he gets better. But the negative way in which he's impacted a lot of people's lives, can't say that I'm a fan that wants to go watch or support anything that he's in and give him any of my hard-earned money. So, just on my opinion, fuck Flash. Now, I'm glad Swamp Thing, because huge Swamp Thing fan, love Swamp Thing. Swamp Thing is like, out of all DC characters, he is basically like my number one, my dude. He's like way up there, right? The old Swamp Thing series that came out on the old, what was that streaming service DC had a few years back. If any of you guys want to tell me in the comments below, feel free. I've totally forgot. I think it was called DC Universe Online or something. No, that's the game. Something close to that anyway. That show was great. I loved that show. It was fantastic. And then it was 10 episodes, and right after the pilot was released, word came down from Warner that we're shit canning the show. We're not going to make another season of it. So what you have right here, that's it. And then you get to episode 10 of that show, and if you haven't seen it, look guys, spoiler alert, just go ahead and skip through this. You get to the Floridian Man, and that's it. So you're left with a cliffhanger and knowing you're not getting a season 2. That pissed me off, because that show got awesome reviews across the board from critics and viewers alike. It was a great show. I mean, I can't sing its praises enough. I'm glad they're getting a movie. I'm glad Swamp Thing's getting a movie. But I just so wish they would use that money that they're using for the budget of the movie and put it towards continuing that show. So James Gunn, I doubt very seriously you'll ever see any of my videos on YouTube. But if you just so happen to stumble across this handsome face, please, sir, I beg of you, give us season 2 of Swamp Thing on HBO Max. I guarantee you make it, people will watch it. please still make the movie. I still want a Swamp Thing movie, but I want to see the show continue. Lanterns, that looks legit. Detective, which I kind of wish Jon Stewart could get his own show and not have to have Hal Jordan or Guy Gardner or any of the other Lanterns, which I get the Lantern Corps is vast, it's massive, and there's more than one Lantern. But I would like a show that would just focus completely on Jon Stewart. But this is what they want to do. Hey, it's what they want to do. Creature Commandos, like I said, that's an old throwback. So I'm glad that's getting kind of dug up out of the out of the DC attic and given some love. What else was there? Blue Beetle, definitely an awesome series of comics. So I'm glad to see that's getting some love. The Superman movie kind of sounds like a big screen version of Smallville, which I'm not against because I was a big fan of Smallville. Wasn't that big on how it ended, but all the seasons prior to the last season, totally awesome. But other than that, I mean, everything looks, you know, I'm glad to see that they have a legit plan in place, and a lot of the movies that are already done, they're not getting like cast away, which, like I said, I wish they'd have kind of just done away with the Flash movie, but that's a lot of money to piss away, so I get that. And yeah, but just a few things that I wish would be done different. Swamp Thing instead of a movie, TV series. Lantern, just focus on Jon Stewart. Oh, something else I would love for them to do in the future. Like I said, they got a 10-year plan, so I would love for them to do a Martian Manhunter series for HBO Max. That is one of the most underrated characters in the entire DC pantheon of characters. And he never gets to shine on his own. He's always stuck in the Justice League. This is probably, in terms of badassdom, he is probably the second most powerful character next to Superman in terms of the heroes, but he's also an enigma and one of the most interesting characters with such an interesting persona and backstory that I would love to see a show about Martian Manhunter. The Question, you could totally do an old film noir style of show, black and white with The Question. That would be an amazing show. If y'all have never read The Question, you need to. It was a character that was created by Steve Ditko right after he kind of left Marvel, after he kind of had a falling out over Spider-Man. He went to DC, and there he created The Question. Great character. So that's really the only gripes and things I got. I'm glad they're doing the Batman father and son type deal, but they're using the blueprint laid out by Grant Morrison. But other than that, I mean, you all tell me, you know, down there in the comments, what you all think, feel, happy about it, not so happy about it, whatever. But I'm going to end the video by playing the actual presentation that Mr. Gunn did today, outlining everything that they're going to be doing at DC and Warner Brothers for the DCU. So, without any further ado, I'll get that pulled up right now for you peeps. All right, peeps. So, got it pulled up. So, without any further ado, the presentation by Mr. James Gunn on the roadmap to the new DCU.
Hey everybody, I'm James Gunn. I'm the co-CEO of DC Studios. So as many of you know, DC has been disconnected in film and television for a long time. And it's one of You know, our jobs, mine and Peter's, is to come in and make sure the DCU is connected in film, television, gaming, and animation. That the characters are consistent, played by the same actors, and it works within one story. And if something is outside of that, like Matt Reeves' Batman or Todd Phillips' Joker or Teen Titans Go, that it is clearly labeled as DC Elseworlds, outside of the mainstream DCU continuity. Now, Peter and I have gotten pretty lucky in terms of the 4 projects that are coming out over the next year. First, we have Shazam! Fury of the Gods. Shazam has always been off kind of in his own part of the DCU, so he connects very well. That moves directly into The Flash, a fantastic movie that I really love that resets the entire DC universe. Then to move into Blue Beetle, a fantastic film about a kid who's a marvelous part of the DCU, and then into Aquaman 2, which leads directly into our next few projects, which I'm going to tell you about now. So, Peter and I, along with a group of very talented writers, have started to map out an 8 to 10 year plan of what DC Studios will be in film, television, and gaming. This first chapter is called Gods and Monsters. Now, this, what I'm about to tell you, is a part of the first chapter. It's not the entire first chapter. The first project is Creature Commandos. Creature Commandos is an animated series. I've written all the episodes. Something we're going to do that's a little bit different at DC is we're going to have characters move into animation, out of animation, usually having the same actor play their voice as who plays them in live action. The next project up is Waller. This is a story of Amanda Waller, played by Viola Davis. Viola Davis is going to team up with members of Team Peacemaker, and this is a story that's been created by Crystal Henry, who did Watchmen, and Jeremy Carver, who created the Doom Patrol. It is a fantastic story that's out of this world, and I can't wait for people to see it. Okay, next up is the big one, the true beginning of the DCU. This is called Superman Legacy. This is being written by me. I'm in the middle of it. I'm having a great time doing it. And Superman will be released into theaters July 11th, 2025. Okay, the next thing is a big premiere HBO television series called Lanterns. This is a story of a couple of Green Lanterns, John Stewart and Hal Jordan, and we have a few other Lanterns peppered in there, but this is really a terrestrial-based TV show, which is almost like True Detective with a couple of Green Lanterns who are space cops watching over Precinct Earth. In it, they discover a terrifying mystery that ties into our larger story of the DCU. Next is a big movie called The Authority. The Authority is a passion project of mine. It's based on the marvelous Wildstorm characters we are now bringing into the DCU and will interact with all of our primary DCU characters. The Authority are a group of superheroes.
If you find it at your comic shop, you should read it.
The world is broken and they want to fix it by any means necessary. I think it's a very different look at superheroes. We're doing a television series called Paradise Lost. Paradise Lost is the story of Paradise Island, usually known as Themyscira, which is the birthplace of Wonder Woman. It's almost like Game of Thrones with Westeros, but with all of the inhabitants of Paradise Island. The introduction of the DCU's Batman is The Brave and the Bold. The Brave and the Bold is the story of Batman and his actual son, Damian Wayne. This is based on Grant Morrison's great comic book run. Damian Wayne is my favorite Robin. He's a little assassin who Batman tries to get in line, and so this is the story of the two of them and the beginning of sort of the Bat family in the DCU. Next up is a TV series called Booster Gold. Booster Gold is one of comics' really popular cult heroes. He is a fascinating guy. He's a loser from the future who uses future technology to come back to present day and become a superhero so that people will love him. It is basically the superhero story of imposter syndrome on an HBO Max series. One of my favorite comic book series from last year was Tom King's run on Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow. And so we're going to turn that into a big science fiction epic film. Now, Superman is a guy who was sent to Earth and raised by loving parents, whereas Supergirl in this story, she is a character who was raised on a chunk of Krypton. She watched everybody around her perish in some terrible way. So she's a much more jaded character. And that brings me to Swamp Thing, the last thing we're going to talk about, a very dark horror story in the origins of the monster who is Swamp Thing. And although it's totally outside of the rest of the DCU, it will still feed into the rest of the stories. Anyway, those are the stories that I can tell you about right now. I've loved the DC characters since I was a child. They're incredibly important to me. I knew that this was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to do something very different. One of the things that's very important for me in all of these movies and TV series is that the director's vision and the vision of the writers and all of the creators is unique and something special. Storytelling is always king. That's all that matters to us. And I want to be true to those stories. I want to be true to you guys and really give you something different than you've ever seen before. Anyway, thank you, everybody. I appreciate you watching. I hope this was exciting for you because it's really exciting for me. And I can't wait to start to dive into these stories with you guys on this grand adventure. Thank you so much.
Well, all right, guys, there you go. Straight from the man himself, Mr. James Gunn, the complete roadmap, if you will, for the next 10 years for the DCU. I'm excited. Like I said, I'm on board for everything except for the Flash movie, but that's only because the person playing the Flash being a dirtbag. Other than that, everything else I'm on board for. I just wish that Swamp Thing would get a TV series or a continuation to his old TV series, but hey, I'll take the movie. Booster Gold's getting some love, Blue Beetle, so many other great characters that many people don't know about, and that has always been my biggest complaint with DC is they've always used the Trinity. And for those of you that are outside of comic book nerdom, the great Trinity is Batman, Wonder Woman, and Superman. They've always went to those three, mainly Superman and Batman, because they know they are the most well-known characters that DC has. And I have always felt that it was a great disservice because there are other characters within the vast multiverse, if you will, of DC that deserve love as well. But guys, you all let me know down here in the comments below. Are you excited for this? Are you blasé about this? Are you like, I will save my judgment until I see what comes out on the big screen or on the small screen? Yeah, anything, you know. Do you even agree with me with the Swamp Thing? Do you think it should still stay a television series? And you know, about the lanterns, all that, you know, there's so many questions I could ask. But while you're at it too, would you guys please hit that subscribe button down below, hadouken that notification bell, and as always, it's been your old buddy John, and I'll see you again next time. Ooh, ooh.